Today, the world is watching the Middle East with growing anxiety. A conflict that began as a regional confrontation has slowly transformed into one of the most dangerous geopolitical crises of modern times. The Israel-Hamas war has lasted for more than 2 years, devastating Gaza, destabilizing neighboring countries, and raising fears of a much larger regional conflict. But something unexpected is happening behind the scenes. Instead of global powers gathering in traditional diplomatic capitals like Washington, Riyadh, or Brussels, a new location has emerged at the center of international attention: Islamabad. Pakistan is preparing to host high-level talks involving Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and Turkey to discuss the ongoing Middle East crisis. For many observers, this development raises an important question: why Pakistan, and why now? To understand this moment, we must first look at how the Middle East conflict evolved into a global concern. The war between Israel and Hamas triggered political shockwaves far beyond Gaza. Armed groups across the region became more active. Maritime security in the Red Sea faced new threats. Diplomatic relations between regional powers grew increasingly tense. Every military escalation risked pulling additional countries into direct confrontation. The international community urgently needed mediators capable of speaking to all sides. Traditional diplomatic actors faced limitations. Some were seen as biased. Others lacked communication channels with rival blocs. Pakistan, however, occupies a rare strategic position. Unlike many countries, Pakistan maintains working relationships with competing geopolitical actors simultaneously. It has long-standing diplomatic ties with Iran, while also maintaining deep strategic cooperation with Saudi Arabia and Gulf nations. At the same time, Pakistan continues engagement with Western powers, including the United States. This balance allows Pakistan to communicate across divides that many nations cannot cross. Diplomacy often depends not only on official alliances, but also on trust. Countries involved in conflict must believe that a mediator will listen to their concerns without pursuing hidden agendas. Pakistan's history of engaging multiple regional players has created an environment where dialogue becomes possible. Recent developments have further strengthened Pakistan's diplomatic relevance. Personal connections between political and military leadership in Islamabad and major international figures have opened new communication channels. In global politics, relationships between leaders often accelerate negotiations that institutions alone cannot achieve. The upcoming meeting involving Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Turkey, and Pakistan is being described as a quadrilateral consultation. On the surface, it may appear to be another routine diplomatic gathering. However, analysts believe it could represent something much more significant: the formation of a coordinated diplomatic effort aimed at preventing further escalation in the Middle East. Each participating country brings unique influence. Saudi Arabia represents economic power and political leadership within the Arab world. Its long-term economic transformation plans require regional stability. Continued conflict threatens investment flows, energy markets, and international partnerships. Egypt holds geographical and political importance because of its direct involvement in Gaza-related diplomacy. Control over humanitarian access routes gives Cairo a central operational role in ceasefire negotiations and aid coordination. Turkey adds another dimension. With an independent foreign policy and ambitions of regional leadership, Turkey maintains communication with multiple sides of the conflict. Its participation expands the meeting beyond an Arab initiative into a broader geopolitical dialogue. Pakistan's role is different but equally critical. Islamabad appears to be positioning itself as a facilitator rather than a decision-maker, a country providing space for conversation rather than imposing outcomes. Modern diplomacy increasingly relies on what experts call back-channel communication. These are indirect exchanges carried out away from public attention. Governments use intermediaries to send messages, test proposals, and reduce tensions without political risk. Reports suggest Pakistan has already served as a communication bridge between rival powers, including facilitating message exchanges between Iran and the United States. Such quiet diplomacy often lays the foundation for formal agreements announced later. History shows that many peace processes begin exactly this way, through discreet conversations hosted by states willing to remain neutral. Another interesting aspect of this development is the indirect involvement of global powers. Although some major countries are not officially present at the meeting, their strategic interests remain deeply connected to its outcome. Diplomatic initiatives of this scale rarely occur without broader international awareness or approval. The global political landscape itself is changing. The world is gradually moving away from a single dominant power structure toward a multipolar system. Regional powers are gaining influence, and middle states are finding new opportunities to shape international events. Countries that successfully mediate conflicts often experience dramatic increases in global relevance. Mediation brings prestige, credibility, and economic opportunity. When a nation becomes known as a reliable peace broker, investors perceive stability, allies strengthen partnerships, and diplomatic doors open worldwide. For Pakistan, the potential benefits are significant. Successful talks could enhance international reputation, strengthen economic relationships with Gulf countries, and improve strategic standing within global institutions. However, the risks are equally real. Balancing relationships between rival powers requires careful diplomacy. Pakistan must avoid appearing aligned with any single side. Maintaining trust simultaneously with Iran, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and Western nations demands extraordinary political skill. One diplomatic misstep could damage carefully maintained relationships. This delicate balancing act highlights the complexity of modern international relations. Mediation is not merely about hosting meetings. It requires credibility, patience, and the ability to understand competing security concerns. Observers are beginning to compare Pakistan's emerging role with countries that previously gained influence through peace diplomacy. Nations like Norway, Qatar, and Oman became globally recognized not because of military power, but because of diplomatic reliability. Pakistan may now be attempting a similar transformation, shifting from a country often associated with regional challenges toward one recognized for conflict resolution. The broader implications extend beyond the Middle East. If these discussions produce meaningful outcomes, they could signal the rise of new diplomatic centers outside traditional Western capitals. Global politics would become more decentralized, with emerging states playing active roles in shaping international stability. The coming weeks will therefore be crucial. If dialogue leads to stronger ceasefire mechanisms, reduced regional tensions, or new cooperation frameworks, Pakistan's status on the world stage could change significantly. Even partial progress would demonstrate that middle powers can influence outcomes traditionally dominated by superpowers. At its core, this moment represents more than a single diplomatic meeting. It reflects a changing world order where influence depends not only on economic strength or military capability, but also on the ability to build bridges between rivals. Whether Pakistan ultimately becomes a permanent peace broker remains uncertain. Diplomacy operates slowly, and success often depends on factors beyond any single country's control. But one thing is clear. The decision by major regional players to gather in Islamabad shows that global diplomacy is evolving, and new actors are stepping forward to shape the future. As tensions continue across the Middle East, the world will watch closely to see whether dialogue can succeed where conflict has failed. Because sometimes, history changes not on battlefields, but around negotiation tables. And this time, that table may be in Pakistan.